What's going on, Rooted? It is Wednesday. Got the Hump Day camel socks on, and we are working on our midweek mobility. This week we are going to be talking about our wrist and our ankles. Often we think about how our shoulders feel, how our hips feel, but we forget about the small joints in our body that get a lot of work but don't get a lot of love. Often wrist and ankle mobility restrictions will show up as elbow or knee pain. So improving the quality of movement you have through your wrist and through your ankles will take stress off of your knees and your elbows. So you're not going to need any equipment today unless some of these positions are uncomfortable for you. Marty's making hella noise.
Sorry.
So it's all good. It's all right. It's her gym. We're just all living in it. So if you find that it's difficult to sit back on your heels, you may need to place like a pillow or a blanket or something underneath your hips to make it comfortable. If there are some positions that you can't access even with some bolsters or geez, Monty, I thought I could ignore. But if you can't get into that position, then just reach out to us and then talk to me, and I'll make sure that we can get you some exercises that will do the same thing, that don't put your body in an uncomfortable position. And so you want to get onto the ground. Your wrist mobility exercises are going to be relatively simple. It's placing your hands on the ground, and you want to open up your fingers as much as you can, and then you're just going to rock forward a small amount until you feel a stretch through your forearm. You're not trying to load your hands with all of your body weight. You want to rock forward and focus on the heel of your palm staying in contact with the ground. The closer you get your hand to your body, the further you're going to move your shoulder over your wrist, and the greater the stretch, but also the greater the load. So working out here, you can see that I'll be able to get a little bit more movement, but I won't put as much stress onto my wrist. If you find that you're peeling off the ground, you can place a towel or something underneath to kind of keep some tension there, or to keep some connection to the ground, so that you can focus on the stretch. So it's just these forward rocks with your fingers forward, then you turn your fingers backward. Now, this is the opposite. As I sit back, I am increasing the tension on the front of my forearms, and so I'm going to move nice and slow. And as I sit further back, I'm going to be careful, making sure that the heel of my palm stays connected to the ground. As you move your hands closer to your body, this actually makes this stretch a little easier. So you want to just play around with it and find the right distance for you in each hand position. You're then going to point your fingers out, and you'll just gently rock side to side. Each hand position is going to change the spiral tension that happens in your forearm. Okay, our hands are meant to turn, or our wrists are meant to turn, our forearms are meant to turn. So we want to challenge those muscles in different positions. Okay, now that's all going to help the flexors of our forearms, which get overused often because as we drive, we type, we write, we read, all these things that curl our hands in. And we also want to work the extensors of our forearm, which are on the back side. All the same positions, but now your palms will be facing up. And on this one, we want to get our hands closer to our body, because that will take some of the stress off of our wrist, and we want to be very conservative with how we load them. So I'm going to gently rock back, and that's going to really stretch all these muscles on the front of my forearm. I want to pay attention to my elbow pits. I don't want them to turn in. I want to gently turn them out. And then again, I'm rocking back and forth very slowly, making sure that I can take the weight of my body onto my legs if I need to. Okay? And then we're going to do the same thing. Turn the fingers out, rock side to side, okay? And then turn the fingers forward and rock forward and back. Okay? 5 to 20 repetitions, holding for a breath or two is going to be more than enough. Really be gentle with your wrists. They are small joints, they're small muscles. They can't handle as much stress as the bigger joints on our body, so we want to just ease our way into them. All right? Now for our ankles. Most of us will wear shoes with a little bit of a heel lift, and when we sleep, our foot falls into this toe-pointed position, which is called plantar flexion. a tight calf will restrict the mobility of our ankle to glide forward over or for our shin to glide forward over our foot. This position is the inverse of plantar flexion. It's called dorsiflexion. Most of us need to work on our dorsiflexion. Okay? A lack of dorsiflexion will show up in your squat. While you're squatting, it will hurt your knees. So improving this makes life easier. Okay? What we're gonna do to start is to work on our big toes and on the front of our ankle. So I'm actually gonna pull my toes underneath, and I'm going to work on sitting onto my heels. This will put a significant amount of stress onto your toes, so be gentle with it. If you feel like you can sit all the way down, awesome. If you have to lean forward a little bit so that you're not putting as much weight onto your toes, that's completely okay. As you do this more often, your toes will get comfortable pulling underneath, and that will make it a little easier to move your ankle. Okay? You can take some stress off of it by pointing, and the same thing. This will stretch out the front of the ankle. Most people will be able to do this position more comfortably than they can do this position, but you want to be able to go back and forth between the two. Now, if you find this easy, awesome, good for you. If you'd like to make it more challenging, all you do is lean your weight back, and that's going to put more of your body weight onto those small bones and joints of our foot, but it will start the process of opening up your ankle. And you just got to find the right spot for you. Okay? From there, you're going to get into half kneeling, and you really want to concentrate on your heel staying attached to the ground. I'm actually going to push onto my knee, and then I'm going to start to move my knee forward. And back. I'm going to track my middle toe, so I want my knee to go in the same line as my middle toe. Then my ankle's meant to rotate and turn, so I'm going to take my knee and then go over my big toe, and then over my pinky toe. I'm going to turn and face the camera so that you can see this. Knee is going to track straight forward. I'm making sure that my heel stays connected to the ground, and then I'm going to track my big toe. You'll move as far as you can without letting your heel detach, and you should not feel any pain or tension in your hip. 5 to 10 in each position, and each angle is going to be more than enough just to kind of start getting that ankle to move the way it's supposed to. And after that, you're going to stand yourself up. This is done easily with a wall, so I'll just mimic that I have a wall in front of me. You're going to take one foot and you're going to place it back, and you're going to make sure that your heel is attached to the ground. Okay. With a straight leg, I'm going to push my hips forward, and I can support myself with a wall or a chair or a table, and I want to make sure that that leg is staying as straight as possible. This is going to stretch my calf muscle, which is the superficial muscle or closer to the skin muscle of my lower leg. Okay, so I'm going to hold here for anywhere between 10 and 15 breaths. Then I'm going to close my stance a small amount, and then I'm going to keep my heel attached to the ground and bend my knee. Once I bend my knee, it shifts from that calf muscle to the muscle below it, which is called your soleus. It is a muscle that gets a lot of work but not a lot of love. So this bent knee, so I'm trying to drop my knee towards the ground without lifting my heel. This bent knee calf stretch will address the soleus more than it will your calf. So you have a straight leg calf stretch where you're trying to get your hip forward, and then a bent knee calf stretch where you're trying to get your knee down. Again, support yourself so that you feel stable and balanced. You're going to be 10 to 20 breaths on each side. Okay? And then the last thing we're going to do, we're going to come back down onto our hands and knees. This one's the funkiest one. We're going to grab our ankle below the joint. So we're going to grab our foot actually below our ankle joint, and I'm going to think about twisting my foot in. So I'm going to pull and rotate in. Then I'm going to push my knee forward and out, and that will get my shin bone, my tibia, to rotate in the opposite direction of my ankle, and that will create a lot of space and range of motion in that joint. So foot turns in, shin and knee go out. Okay? Now you can do this in half kneeling and come down, turn, and then move forward. Here, You're only gonna need about 5 to 10 reps. It's better that you go slow and really focus on moving that shin as far forward as you can without the ankle detaching. Give yourself 10 to 15 minutes to do this a few times a week. You'll feel a lot better through your wrist and through your ankles, and that should make your elbows and your knees feel better. All right, so if you guys have any questions, make sure to reach out, and have a good week.